Well, good afternoon as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful, beautiful afternoon of Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Here at the Hello Hello Show, my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept called public access. And I kind of find myself embarking as I'm becoming weightless in the reality and the world and the life of images and descriptions of moments of exuberance and being uplifted and implementing pre-established conclusions about the creative process and taking you and by doing so taking everybody else with you on a wonderful trip to the beauty and the revelation and the amazement and the surprise and the appreciation and the respect and the just regard and the understanding of self, the understanding of quality, of time spent, time invested, and of talent, of goodwill, and hopefully bringing it together, um, and with quite a bit of help from Mother Nature, I should say, I should mention. Um, uh, Following the scent, and especially in our neck of the woods, the recollection of all these wonderful individuals in the last 100 years that sat around and contemplated and scratched their heads and um, needed to come up with some concept, with some coherent gathering of the minds and gathering of the instincts and the that which triggers the right thing with the right people for the right cause and for the general exposure, the unlimited open exposure to whoever want to be a part of this. This neck of the wood absorbed all these wonderful scents and sensing and also breaking through vis-a-vis the willingness to sit together and to say, well, you know what, we'll start we'll start by talking, we'll start by imagining, we'll start by configuring, we'll start by composing, we'll start by exchanging. Most of those painters that met 80 years ago or 100 years ago in eastern Long Island, in New York, um, were not really artists that painted like 200, 300 paintings a year or something like that. Or these are painters that would talk to you about a dozen paintings a year, and if they're lucky, investment of time, the thought, the sense of the magnitude of responsibility uh, was hovering over them with like a shadow, like a positive shadow, but still nevertheless like a cloud, like a companion, like a reminder, like an entity that wants to watch you closely with all the good intentions in the world, but still, nevertheless, on your behalf, you would feel maybe vulnerable, exposed, maybe not ready, uncertain, doubtful, and hopeful, and all so many other things. You carry the scent through the recollection of the greats and those who were talented, if only by default, that they found themselves actually being able to grab the the minimum of the minimum of the stuff that they are left with after a day's work of discussion and interacting with people, with society, with life, and then finding themselves in their studios working with this little bit to create some incredible volume of work. And that being said, to realize the magic of coming such a long way only on the behalf of accumulating just a little bit of experience and a little bit of revelation and a little bit of discovery. And in a world like ours, people sit and talk about governments and about political forces and about political movements and about elections and about freedom and about democracy, about dictatorships, about war, about peace, um, about the totality of it all, and about the I can't even think about what more. Uh, Only to find themselves getting nowhere because they're in order to do what they're doing, they had to abandon their the their artistic edge. I shouldn't say abandon, just leave it behind. Only to find out that when you, even if it wasn't a long while, you turn around to go and grab it or relocate it and claim it again, almost next to an impossibility. Very sad. Very sad. This will be like losing all your life's investment of paintings because of some simple flood in your basement or something. Uh, the uncalled for damage that speaks its piece and claims its price, pays its price, is um, something that no artists uh, that I know of at least would want to go through or find himself or herself a part of this avoidable scenario. And the difficult part is really believing that indeed that even if it was to be predictable or not, uh, seeing it coming or not, evaluating properly, um, getting ready as much as one can, to the best of the ability and knowledge and experience, to try to give your best to be available to that which reality unfolds and opens and presents us with, and that we can say, yeah, that's going to be a real tough journey, but at least we know what the nature of the journey is all about. That much to know is sufficient enough to plant calmness in your heart as you go and push against and do whatever it is they have to do in times of distress and potential confusion and uncertainty and just kind of that all these things that spell pain, and discomfort. Uh, so really, if you go to the basics of the philosophers that always talked about what does it really matter? I mean, if you if you're smart enough to come to a conclusion that your interaction now or your action now or the measures that you're going to take now will make a difference, will change what it is that you're facing and think it's not a good idea and I wish you can do something about it, only to go and find out you yourself and you. If you were to engage and go through this process at the at the end of the first station of evaluation, what will you find out? And he will always come back with an answer that's like, it really doesn't matter. It won't change anything. It, you don't even you're not even bothered to understand what is the nature of the it. You just like you know, um, and therefore find yourself being convinced that you're better off without. And sometimes you would make the wrong choice and make mistakes only because it just feels right, and maybe one day maybe you need the excitement. Maybe it involves a lot of technical hopping and jumping and relocating and all this. So that speaks to you and appeals to you. And maybe in order to sense that and to feel that and to remain engaged in that on that level, you're willing to pay the price. But if you look around, you see that other people are going to pay the price also, even just innocent bystanders. And if you're the person that I think you are, you're probably on the account of that, and based on that, it would be you would already change your mind and you will do the right thing. And that decision that you're going to eventually decide will not going to be so popular, but it will be the right one at least, or at least what you believe to be the right one. So you follow the scent. You follow the scent that you planted, that you put in place, and pretty much unknowingly, pretty much not with extreme level of certainty that you will think, can't wait for that the end of segment one, so I can turn around and check things out and see what is it that's been said, what is it that's been done, what just happened there exactly, and to find out also that you're such an important player, a significant player, and that now you're going to go back home with the um, a condensed realization that you matter, your presence matter, your actions matter, and then you learn about others, and then you get to appreciate so much more presence of people, and also reducing the amount of judgment, of course, which is something that is always welcome and always blessed. But then, of course, the prior understanding of what is important, why is it important, how to go about balancing things out, how to go at minimizing the potential of that kind of unnecessary abruptive reaction that is so difficult to find your way back from it, Um, and then, of course, learning a lot about the value um, of easy said than done, uh, you know what? Uh, let's deal with it when we get there. And I like that actually for the longest time, and even now and then I say, you know what, timing tells me that I should leave this alone because I'm going to encounter it down the road. If I indeed take this road in this direction, I will inevitably bump into it again because you know enough to say. So I'll uh, take it out from there. I will resume there and then. That gives me a little bit of a kind of extra push for a cleaner beginning, for um, more transparent commencement, and for the most part, down the road, you realize that you're actually ahead of the game for such a long while into this new reality that you've been introduced to, or you introduce yourself to, and that gives you and understanding that indeed that was the right thing to do, and indeed that you thinking that it was the right thing, and so you kind of coming back feeling much better about yourself, especially than the moment that you actually arrived there with all your hopes and aspirations and plans and willingness and wanting to be a part of the process, wanting to uh, add the extra mile or the extra effort, and because it pays now, it will pay, and we need to find ourselves just gonna maybe able to just do the right gestures and say the right little tiny snippy thing, so we'll be on the alert and become aware suddenly that maybe we're better off not using this kind of energy now, because maybe this energy, according to our understanding, is going to be needed soon somewhere else. That it's really a significant moment that we need it, and then we're going to make sure we have it, because now it's just an extra. You know how it is that we want to. It's almost like smoking a joint. Just smoke a joint. You know they're going to get a certain high. And some people just go with the high, it takes them wherever, and it's not. Some people are planning a certain attitude to kick in together with the high, and some are taking it uh, and running with it as it kind of introduces itself to you. So, um, and in that sense, there's an incentive Now, the incentive is dangerous here, especially with young people, and especially with people that are introduced to, let's say, some strong certain type of weed. You take one puff and you're like floating on thin air. Uh, Something that probably most people wouldn't find enjoyable at all. Some people will even be hurt mentally or psychologically or whatever. So many things, so many things. Yeah, now that when you have kids, and you want to think about your kids and about you look at your 12-year-old or 30, he or she, daughter, son, and then you say, oh man, then you remember yourself smoking or drinking or whatever, experimenting, and how much you went through, even though it wasn't such a big deal. But even when it was a big deal, you can remember 50 different instances where you were lucky and, and you were smoking something or you're doing very basic things that could have hurt you a lot. And in order for you to be where you are at the moment that you are with all that you went through in somewhat somehow intact is required so many miracles to happen. Now you have to wish these miracles upon your children because you care, because you say, oh my God, my gentle daughter here, that she's going to grow and become a young lady and whatnot. But still, you never know what's going to hit her. You never know how it's going. Never know what trivial wrong decision will lead her to some significant psychedelic unnecessary damage or something. Things like that. Why am I saying it? Because we stand a great chance if we guard what we have or what we potentially have when it comes to arts, when it comes to art, when it comes to playing an instrument, a guitar, piano, drums, wind instruments, just that kind of moment of significance that you know that if you can do this right, the instrument will not deny you magic and a sensation that will carry you for quite a while and make you feel very confident and looking at tomorrow and the future and the immediate future, the distant future, in a very favorable fashion with all these feelings of, you know what, um, I am convinced that indeed I was right. This is lovely. This is good. This is great. This is delicious. This is tasty. This is rewarding. This is pleasing. This is aesthetic. I love it. Music, poetry, the words and the sounds and then their melodies and harmonies and you know a lot and you don't know enough and you know a little bit, and it matters and it doesn't matter. But you keep on being the one who's engaged with that relationship with the brush to the surface and what that which pushes, that which yields, that which come together, that which creates the rotation, and then in the midst of that you just rub your eyes and you kind of straighten your neck and you say, wait a second, it's kicking in something from the night before, something from a moment before, something from a week ago, something from tomorrow, you know and you realize that um, um, it's the later. It's almost like uh, I titled the show that's gonna, you know, you might know if you know me and you're tuned to LTV that we're having group art shows here, local and otherwise, that I've been curating for 28 years. And as we speak now, we have a wonderful show that's actually coming down in the next few days. And that was really nice with Anahi DiCanio and Bob Selvin and Team Rope and what's her name, Barbara Rama and Steve LeCoeur. I mean, yeah, Chris LeCoeur and um, and then Josephine Worcestershire, myself. There's a few pieces here, and And help me, and yes, okay. So we're getting ready in a week from now to open another group art show, and I titled it "Let Alone," and I just like felt like uh, it's two significant items reside within the title "Let Alone." Let alone can be just as basic as saying, let it be, leave it alone, let alone, like let it pursue as it wishes and as its own rhythm, inner and outer, conducts and dictates. And this let alone is something that just prepares you for the coming state, the significance of the coming statement that is actually an option, an additional understanding, an enlightenment, an additional um, um, uh, explanation to why it's different, greater or otherwise than what we are facing now, what we're trying to define now. Let alone that we should find ourselves actually accelerating from that moment, only to find ourselves in a very natural stage, in a very natural way, very natural point of reference, very natural attitude, very natural level of willingness in itself as a whole, and you yourself and you is really gathering and feeling that kind of three is a company within the that which is absolute, which is the one. That's why in music, especially with rhythm, the when you speak of the things that reside for the most part, hopefully very comfortably out of the one, away from the one, alongside the one, it represents a power, and the more it does that, it speaks in the name of sophistication. So it's all this kind of syncopation, accent, accent, accental, I don't know if you can say accental syncopation. So it's like left, right, right, left, left, right kind of thing, and right, right, left, left, right, so just imagine how much you can fit in 5 minutes. And just imagine if you decide to be like a full time observer of yourself that happens to be the doer and the inventor and the executor and the one full of initiation and just all that, just all day long. So, how much do you put time when it comes to work? Even if you work 8 hours, you have to prepare in the morning, then travel, then you're done with work, you prepare in the late afternoon, and then come back. You're talking about 10 hours. Just imagine 10 hours. You reside in peace, with peace in the with the resolution of art. I When I try to convince people, other people, about their greatness, and when I try to explain to them that their greatness is a given, as it is something that everyone shares and feels and experiences, because there's no condition for genius or for talent. Yeah, you can always say he's an exception to the rule because some people are, but we're talking about one in 15 million that you can say, okay, we don't want to talk about him or her because they're just like an entity in themselves. That's fine. Well, most people are 120. 98% of the population of the world are 120 IQ. It's just that our stupid IQ tests is not accurate enough in terms of what is the subject matter under discussion that I'm going to choose, upon which I will make the decisions of how smart or sophisticated, what kind of a rate this individual is going to get, responding to this set of questions and wonderings and all that. Uh, those who put in place, by the way, the other day I took my IQ test. Okay, I admit I take IQ tests. I don't know why. I think it's fun. I think it's nice to say, okay, I did something and they said that I'm sharp or I'm good, Maybe you need this reassurance. So I get it from a computer or from a program or from a whatever. Uh, so so my score was 120, 125, and then they give you the whole scenario of how your unique aspects of who you are in terms of psychologically speaking, mathematically speaking, uh, how do you relate to common sense, basic logic, things like that. So it was an extremely wonderful, nice surprise for me to receive something, a description, an explanation, a description of something I didn't ask for. It's okay, good for the machine that it thought that maybe it is a good idea that I should know about it. And not only that I should know about it, that I should know about it in a certain way that the machine itself will decide for me. That's lovely. I accept it with love every day. Why wouldn't I? So, okay, so I did that, and I was told things that I said, you know what? This is very intriguing. This is nice. I learned things, and I learned to look at things in a way that I didn't just the moment before. And I feel very reassured, very kind of okay. We're getting somewhere. Now, all of us, I don't think that it should or would take more than our ability to give to say, you know what? What the heck? Why won't we do that? Why won't we look into the matter of what does it really look like to believe that we are consisting of some incredible, wonderful material, whatever it is that you want to describe, that brings us together the way we are and tells our story that is nothing less than magnificent. Uh, and, and taking any individual, and there are so many ways to teach people brilliance, and there's so many ways to approach it and to enter. There's so many ways, just as many ways as there are characters and there are difficulties out there when it comes to human nature and human pattern and human demeanor. Just as many, if not more. So you can take someone and you can say, you know, if you can take someone that all the things that you want to teach that someone is alien to him, completely alien, that he won't be understanding even that this is going to, or this is being attempted to take place, and that it involves him or her. But you can take and just, you can always introduce the one. As a drummer, it's so easy. I remember when my first mentor, Rafael Ben Aaron. Yeah, wonderful. In the 70s, he was a magical musician, a prodigy drummer. He was free thinking, ahead of his time. And then Kenwood Denard in Spanish Harlem in 1983. Can you believe that I was meeting with this drummer once a week in Spanish Harlem, a world renowned, controlled the world with his passion and his genius and ability about rhythm and about melody and whatnot. I was the first individual that introduced keyboards attached to drum sets, and it was just like deaf in his one ear and half deaf in the other one, but they're still a power to be reckoned with. And I was there with him spending time, and he was trying to teach me, and he was trying to understand if I understand him, and he was trying to convince himself that indeed he can teach me, and then he can verify on his own behalf without waiting for me to verify that indeed I understand him. That indeed there's one more person that will be able to leave his studio after such and such months and go on his or her merry way and disperse his art, his style of art, his style of approach, his whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It's like speaking the piece of truth, of this specific truth, the melodic, the harmonic, the suggestive, the mathematical, the architectural, intriguing on so many levels. And at any engagement, beginning, middle, and end of the engagement, there will be recognition and progress and results, and the results are immediate and abrupt and instinctive. And you cannot deny yourself from the full understanding that indeed this impact is not being wasted or just like I'm wasting my time. Okay, I'm going to sit here for an hour and chat with you for whatever that means. And I'm going to just believe, but then I'm not going to believe it. And I'm going to this, whoops, it's over. It's time's good. The show was good, wasn't good. I don't know. And that's it. In, but in the same time, the recollection, let's take Salvador Dali. Okay. Again, I am not an authority. I really am not. I mean, I know what I know. I think I know a little bit more than just a little bit, but I'm not an authority. And I don't have any titles really. I mean, I have titles that I self crowned myself because I gave myself time to this. And I was the only one who can award myself the awards that I awarded myself because I'm the only one who really knows me well enough to say, hey, listen, Haim, you did extremely well. And here's a token of appreciation. Our this is your document that will certify that you spent that much time here and you learned that much with as many instructors as are available. Um, so y- you you take Salvatore Dali and whatever video footage that you can get on Salvador Dali vis-a-vis the internet and artificial intelligence, whatever, all the material, most of them. I remember once I saw him on a TV show. He appeared in one of the programs and he brought with him the paint gun. I think it was revolutionary, and he was coming and in the studio for the most part, the entirety of the situation. It was a talk show of some sort, but all he was going to do is talk about the paint gun, and in deal, they set him up there with a canvas and like 20 feet away or 15 feet away, and he would choose the paint and the color, whatever, and he would shoot onto the canvas, and then he's supposedly will start and finish a painting doing so. And I saw that. And I remember that the entire, whatever it was, 15 minutes that took place, I mean, I admired Salvador Dali for the obvious reasons. And as I was contemplating, am I saying what I'm saying? This first class, world renowned, out of this world artist is in a talk show on TV. I think it was in the late 60s or something. shooting a paint gun and being so enthusiastic about it. I remember that he was so calm and so, the more calm he was, the more serious the moment was. So you experiencing something that is very childish, a paint gun in the hands of a master of expressionism and impressionism and surrealism and realism and modernism, all the ism, a master standing there with a paint gun and doing it. But still, you are so in awe, and you look at the guy, and before you know it, it's over. What just took place? Oh, here's the painting. Thank God for the internet today. I can Google it and bring it to life again. So take Salvador Dali. How serious he was. How serious he was, and especially in those moments where he was introducing something experimental, paint guns, in the late 60s, early 70s on TV. And he made a piece right there in front of you. And once he signed it, this is $1 million today, $2 million. But regardless of money issues, but still, nevertheless, very valuable. What was he telling us? What was he telling us? He was telling us that the story that he was trying to tell us was the one that is depending 10% on pure technical knowledge, 10% on pure goodwill, 10% on pure love, care, and regard, 10% on sensitivity and coping, and all the extent that the desires display in front of us, and 50% that which is completely random. Therefore, we cannot describe what it is and what its nature is. 50% random, accepting it as a part of destiny, accepting it as something that we would like every time we get the chance to bring it closer to our chest as possible, just closer and closer, and to have that level of conviction that tells you nothing but the story that has been ought to be told, and that you actually a very active player in this scenario of this story being told, and you are becoming more and more aware of that. So so you want to look into incidents and instances where the greats and the masters, as they were like feeling more and more comfortable in their own arena, in their own immediate vicinity. And then, of course, we know for a fact now that we all, as a human race, benefiting from it. What look, some painters, they two or three of their paintings changed the friggin' art world forever and ever, and still will continue to change for decades to come. Trivial things, supposedly, that they did 100 years ago in the late 820s, early 40s, and things like that. And so if 50% was random, then in order for you to prevail the way you deserve to prevail, you need to be 50% lucky in the process. That means all your effort and all your talent and all your goodwill and all that you got to give will go in order to achieve 50%. That means you have to be at your best throughout in order to get 100% from 50%. And then if you have some time left, then time spent to pray that indeed you're going to get lucky and achieve some of the other unavailable 50%. So you never know how Mother Nature or different gods or entities and energies will be aware of your presence, of your survivor, of your existence, and say, "Oh, well, let's give him a break." Yeah, well, So the difficulty will not come from your disability to create the art that can be appreciated and most probably will be appreciated and will become valuable and you will be compensated. But still, this in order for this to happen, and even if it was to happen at its best, working for your own on your own behalf to benefit you and to add to your as self-esteem, it's okay that you can find it within you to appreciate yourself and to say, you know what, I don't care what people say. There's certain things and then I know no one can take away from me. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I raise a family and I do this and I do that and I work and I support and I paint and I play music and I write and I do the best that I can all the time, every day, a little bit, a lot, every day though, every day. And I do it and I'm a good father and I'm a good friend and I'm a good husband and just a good community person. I'm a good person, period. Yes, I'm going to say that because I know that about myself. And you know what? Sometimes I stop people, very good friends of mine, that talk about themselves in a free way, like about your thing. And I said, no, 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 I don't want you to think that I'm stopping you because now I think that you're narcissistic, describing yourself in a very narcissistic way, vis-a-vis narcissism that we cannot tolerate, kind of thing. No, no, no. I want to stop you for a second to tell you how much I love you. That you're actually allowing yourself and convincing yourself that it's the right thing to do. For real. For real. I mean, good for you and then some good for you. And especially because you deserve it. Especially because you deserve it. Now, 98% of us all are 120 IQ because because you need to evaluate how it is that you come to configure what's the IQ of an individual according to your intimate knowledge of that person. Otherwise, we will fail as a whole. The community, society will fail as a whole. It won't be just a random failure somewhere with unknowns in an unknown location. No, it will be national. It will be commercial. It will be industrial. It will be in a magnitude that is like whoop-a-bum. And so at first it would be very daunting, very almost like bordering the impossibility. And then you realize once you commit, once, twice, three, four, the fifth time, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what it means. You know why they speak of the light at the end of the tunnel, because suddenly you see a tunnel, and suddenly you see that the tunnel is not dark, and there's a light that's kind of shining through a crack at the end. You see it, and then you say, "Oh my God!" For an atheist like me, praise the Lord. God is good, something like that. And you're an atheist. Start screaming for God and for the hallelujah of its existence and presence as an atheist because you saw the light at the end of the tunnel and you discovered that there is a tunnel to begin with. And you won't care if it's dark or light, you just knowing that the tunnel is there because you're seeing it, you discovered it. How many times were you trying to be convinced of the existence of the tunnel, of the concept of the light that's shining through wherever to show you the dimension, the depth of it, and that you dismissed it. You dismissed it before they even could finish their wonderings or questions, and they knew better already. Oh, this guy, we don't deal with him. Don't get near him. Whoo hoo, tough case, a difficult case. But when you're going to be transformed, man, it's going to happen fast. There will be no room, no chance, no opportunity, no option for anything other than just going for the ride. And it won't be going for the ride as if to say you made a decision to go for that. You'll be taken for that ride. And the end result of it will be nothing less than what you deserve, which is something pretty good. And according to that, you'll be able to evaluate yourself. And you know what? It's going to be so good. It's going to be a no brainer. You will know about yourself in addition to what you thought you do and to what extent that you thought. You will instantly get to know all the things that you already know. And that will be a feeling that will never leave you for the rest of your life because it's going to accompany you to remind you that you're actually a good guy, that you're a strong person, that you're a concerned, considerate individual human being, and that you're actually very bright and very compassionate and very uh, generous. And every day you're going to learn something new about yourself. And guess what? Every day that's something new that you're going to learn about yourself will be nothing less than just simply good, enlightening, satisfying, encouraging. So now when people talk about, oh, it's going to come from the left, it's going to come from the right, and there's a battlefield. There's a battlefield. Look, look, look. They're still showing cartoons to our kids that is soaked with aggression and violence. It didn't go away just because the quality of the images and everything is smooth and more appealing and more balanced and more whatever. But the subject matter, the storytelling, the so what I'm trying to tell you, we as adults, instead of looking for that, and even if there's reason to worry that doomsday is right around the corner, like first of all, can we do something about it? Can I just go like this and say, hold on for God's sake, don't you move until I give you the signal. Now I'll be right back. And then you go and you go for 50 years, you're not going to show up. And you think everything's going to just wait for you, and you gain 50 years of reflection. Therefore, you secure 200 years of peace on earth on behalf of abandoning life for 50 years. So from left, from right, from top, from bottom, in all these scenarios, you're gonna be devoured by 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 nature, by the weather, by people, by bombs, by conspiracy theories, by evil celebrating, waiting for us, lurking, hovering over us. And you say, wait a second, oh man, I feel pressure on my chest right here. It's like, and wait a second, why don't you step back a little bit? I'm not known to have panic attacks, but you're causing me one now. Step back a little bit, lady. Okay, now I'm myself again. Say, what are you doing for God's sake? What are you doing for God's sake? What do you think you're doing for God's sake? You know, go outside now. The weather is very cold, brisky. Wind chill factor brings it down from 25 to -5, and it's cold, and you're going. And it's quite a task to go and walk 300 feet to your car and all this. But when you get to your car, you feel your ears, you're cold, you're this. Immediately you think, shoot, what if I was exposed to the weather for 20 minutes like this? No car, no nothing, no protection, no hiding, 20 minutes. Suddenly you realize how vulnerable you are. I mean, this is actually a good place to be, to self-humble yourself by just saying, oh, what if I was just left alone for 10, 15 minutes out? I would freeze my nuts. I would not be the same person again. 20 minutes, that's it. And then, but you made it, and you suddenly have this recollection of that scent, the smell of the cold. That's actually very appealing. And you said, and as you thawing and defrosted, from just an encounter of 1 minute exposed to the cold on the way to your car, suddenly you get that sensation of that wonderful uh, taste That's the taste of reassurance that tells you, hey man, first of all, if you worry more or less, your trouble and difficulty will not travel further away than anywhere. It's going to be where it's supposed to be, where it's going to be, whether you're thinking or not, whether you worry or not, whether you're anxious or not, whether you're stressed out or not. It will do its thing. It has a certain amount of that, the mechanism that uh, governs the wheeling and dealing of that inside parts of the mechanism of that, whatever you want to call it. It's called the emotional machine, the spiritual machine, the mechanical machine, the social machine, the religious machine, whatever it is. Uh, but you know that actually, by not abandoning your talents, by don't by not abandoning your commitment, for the most part silent. That's why you're kind of mistaking it with a lost cause or directionless, because you forgot that you committed. You committed mutely. At the very beginning, your commitment was by humming, by nodding. You know you did that. And you know that you will always prevail because you were promised. You were promised by your potential ability of your engagements in the future that indeed that will be the case. Let it be, let it happen on its own behalf. Put your trust in that place so it will allow the mechanism to accelerate forward, and you will be everywhere, always, always everywhere. You won't have to travel anywhere because you'll be everywhere. You'll be able to examine and to overlook and to estimate and to gather your thoughts and your moods and your reservations and your ideas and all this in real time. And you will never lose that ability to make a difference. Never. Directly or indirectly, adamantly or willingly or otherwise. Always. You're always on top of everything. Because obviously, when you own it in the way and the style that you own it, it can never be taken away from you, and there won't be any issues of taking it away from you and giving it back to you. That won't that won't hold any water. That will simply not hold any water in your wonderful, full of revelation, a reality that is so understood to you because you allowed it intimately to insert its um, liquid of curiosity into in your life, the actual life that you live, the waking up in the morning and introducing yourself into the quiet or noisy street out there on the way to work or on the way to any kind of engagement with the world. You are a with a company, that which is familiar and that which is not, that which is known, that which is unknown, and so much more. And that's actually a sensation of relief if you think about it. So if I was to say that that loop that was there anyway, because let's just say I spoke what for an hour. Let's just say that 90% of what I said is just an improvisation of some kind of a tendency, surrealistic tendency. That out of that 15% that was actually coherent, if you can say, which is doubtfully, uh, will be the same approach if you were to start from the other end and achieve the 15%, only to go into the oblivion of the 85%. So that this explanation in itself is like raise the bar. Now it's 94% vague and wait, what did he just say now? Okay, let me take notes. And even if you take notes, you realize they're actually complicating your life even more so by trying to simplifying it. But that's not what I wanted to emphasize. What I wanted to emphasize is the love surrounding with a wonderful accent that anyone can do. Take a very important canvas that you, whomever you meet, would be the best in the world, great talent, just a beginner. And there's a shape. And the shape is highlighted with a certain color, and there's someone standing next to you he, she, young, old, it doesn't matter. And you say, come closer, take this brush. You see this color? Can you just go and trace that shape? But don't touch the color. Just create another color right next to it. And if you touch the other color by mistake, it's fine. Just trace it and try not to touch it. Anyone in the world can do that, and anyone in the world can do even much more than that if you were to tell them. And by the way, when you feel like you're done, you've had it, you can continue as your heart and mind wishes. And even if the person will to say, but wait, this is not my painting, what am I doing here? I just came to buy something or take a leak here or whatever, and suddenly you with the canvas, even that person that doesn't know what the heck, and said, do that and proceed as you may, as you wish, as you plan, and let's see what is your level of tolerance, seeing the genius of the other, of the um, uh, what's the word? The random, the ability of the genius of that which is random, and that random is almightiness almost, so promising, so vibrant, so pleasing, so surprising, so rewarding. You say, who the friggin' heck is this stranger, unknown figure? But you say it only once, then you realize you never say that again. You never find yourself saying, who's this? Because everybody else is the same. Can you take this brush and put just these black dots here like this until this whole section is kind of almost filled with these black dots? That's something you can do, no? And try when you do it not to be too sloppy, even though it's okay to be sloppy, but try not to be. Just, just be mindful of it. That's it. That's all people need. Minimum instructions and then guaranteeing them their own freedom and their own decision making process to carry on as they wish. And you don't even know. So then, let's just say if you're successful with that, just think about so many other artistic, creative mediums that people potentially have, realistically have, really have, or don't have at all, or it's just fiction or a dream or something, but it's there in whatever form or concept that it is. It's it's a commodity that they own. They will be aware of it just because at some point they're going to have to be aware of who they are more and more. And especially if you happen to stand next to them to say this, that, number it, color it, whatever. Suddenly you realize that you just like bringing that which they're destined to encounter at some point sooner. And you know what? The sooner, the better. And the fact that you're going to bring that to them sooner, they're not going to perform better or worse. They're just going to perform as they ought to perform in the face of what you configured and realized that happened to be true. And that's fantastic. I cannot find a better, more fantastic way than this to finish my kind of reservations about my vague, challenging, um, foggy monologue. And that's my way of saying that I really love you and appreciate your attention span and willingness to let me into your immediate vicinity and kind of do there as I do in as my own, treat it as my own, and then I cannot be more indebted than that. And I wanted to say that we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this afternoon of Thursday, January 9th, year 2025, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and, of course, the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. We're getting ready for the next art group show, and that's going to be from the third week of January because we're taking down the existing art show by this weekend. So by next week, we're kind of going to figure out what's what. And uh, as I said, by the beginning of the third week of January, we're going to put together another show that's called let alone. And we'll give you the information later on at some point. Keep up the good spirits, and we appreciate it, and we thank you. Thank you very much.